Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you guys for rejoining us, those on the outreach program, those on the streaming. We're going to dive right in. I don't have a lot of scriptures, but I do want to give you guys a background of the question that I asked of myself that maybe come up with this sermon study, whatever you want to call it. The actual name of this is called Unto the End. For those that see it online, Unto the End. And I just left it at that because I want to actually go over a couple of aspects of what that really means, unto the end. And so before I ask you guys the question, let's turn to Matthew 10, verse 16. Matthew 10, verse 16. We're going to read a couple of verses here. And we'll try to dig into the end. I will give a lot of examples of this from my perspective. And so, again, usually when I talk is because I have a question, and that question is prompted by something that I'm doing. Matthew 10, verse 16. That question is prompted by something I'm doing and I need to look at, and I share with everybody else to see if this is something that can be beneficial or help you in your walk. Matthew 10, verse 16 says, Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Two parts. Wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Remember that because we're going to circle back to those two parts. Notice that there are two there, not just one. Verse 17 says, But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour which ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But he that endureth to the end shall be saved. He that endureth to the end shall be saved. Yes, Jeff.
The boy's going into the fire.
Say that one more time.
Nebuchadnezzar, throwing him in the fire. Those who endure till the end, they don't bow down to that idol.
Yes.
Endure, no matter what, stay strong in it. Fight sin to the death.
Yes, exactly. And enduring or staying strong till the end. Jeff gives the example of Nebuchadnezzar throwing Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire. They did not relinquish until the end. And the end meaning whether the end of their life.
If he saves me, he saves me. If he don't, he don't. But I'm going to tell you right now. Yeah.
Yep. So the question that I ask is, what does it mean to endure to the end? Jeff just gave us one good example of enduring to the end. Staying firm.
We read part of that in Job a while ago.
Part of it in Job, enduring to the end, regardless of what trials and tribulations you were going through. Yes.
Paul gave the example about the race, running that race.
Running the race.
Stand into the race, don't give up.
Running the race until the end. Don't give up. That is a great example. Yes, Raquel.
Yeah, in Revelation, the church of Ephesus, don't lose your first love.
Don't use your first love. I do have that one.
Okay.
Do not lose your first love.
And that sometimes is hard for new people coming in. The first love is to love the Father with all your heart, soul, and might. He's the first love, and then everything else comes with that.
Yeah, love your neighbor as yourself. Yes, first love Yahweh. And so I bring this up, and matter of fact, let's read. You guys gave me some examples of enduring to the end. Let's read Matthew 24:9. Matthew 20 is another, we just read Yeshua's, statement of those that endure to the end. Let's go to Matthew 24:9. We know that this is Yeshua's description of things that are to come before his return as he's talking to them. And Matthew 24:9, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted. Similar to what he was saying in Matthew 10:17 of how they will deliver the apostles and his disciples up to the council and the synagogues. Then they will deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And so the difference I show here is in 10, he was specifically talking about those that were going to be preaching the word during his time, or right after his time, and then those that will be afflicted in like manner in a future time, just before his coming. And verse 10 says, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. He that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. A lot of times when someone says, what does enduring to the end really mean? We really gravitate towards the pain, the affliction, the suffering, the tribulation that we will encounter in our life, that we will have to endure through until the end. Like I said, the end being the death, or the end being Yeshua's return. We have to endure through that. And we know that it is a lot. We read of tribulation and how rough it's going to be. We read of all of the things and revelations that will happen before Yeshua's comes when it comes to the weather and earthquakes and sun and moon going dark, all of these things. Enduring to the end, we gravitate to that is what I need to do. I need to make it through that. I need to last through no matter what's happening. I need to stay focused and last through that. In James 1:2, you don't have to turn there just one verse. James 1:2 kind of proves my thought in this, because it says, blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which Yahweh hath promised to them that love him. Enduring temptations. If the adversary tries to throw something at your path, if you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, I got to endure through that so that I can maintain the character of Yahweh or of Yeshua. When we hear of this, and we immediately think that enduring only is referencing through tribulation and affliction and torment or persecution or whatever may be happening in our life, we're thinking of one aspect. And I know I told you guys to kind of remember in Matthew 10:16, it says, be wise as serpents, but harmless as doves. I equate that wise as serpents as we are aware of all of the things that could be attacking us. We are aware of the temptation. We are aware of the affliction. We are aware of the persecution. We are aware of all of the things that the adversary will use to try to throw us off our game. Excuse me. Having discernment to know what's what. And we all want to have discernment so that we can say, I can identify what's going on. But as I stated earlier, there are two parts. And what is the second part? Being harmless as doves. And how do we continue to be harmless as doves? What gives us the ability to be harmless as doves?
The two commandments.
2 commandments?
Yep, love the Father with all your heart, soul, and might. That'll cover his end, and then love your neighbor as that. It's follow the Torah of Moses.
Thank you. Follow the Torah.
And
If
revenge is Yah's.
we follow the law, we can then make sure that we are holding fast or enduring. And I put down here holding fast because we don't, when we say endure to the end, that's the attacks. When we say hold fast, our mind immediately gravitates to, I need to hold on to what Yahweh has given me, and that's His word. Those are the 2 parts in my mind. You guys are seeing how I think now.
The helmet, all that stuff.
The armor.
Hold
yes.
fast to the truth. Satan comes and says, you know what, it's okay, you can do it. And you're like, no, today's a Sabbath.
Exactly.
Like, it gets me looking at women, and I'm like, no foreign women. I can't even look that direction.
Yeah. Yeshua speaks of enduring through persecution that will happen to those during the end times. When he says endure to the end, endure to the end. And I gave 2 examples of that. We associate enduring to the end through making it through temptation, tribulation, and all of the bad stuff that's going to happen to us. But I don't want us to forget the second part of that, which is being as harmless as doves. What do we need to do in order to make sure we're being as wise as serpent, but being also as harmless as dove? We're watching, being the watchman, making sure we understand when the fig leaves are getting tender, what's about to happen, so that we can guard ourselves against that, but also make sure we are capturing what Yahshua gave us to do as being harmless as dove, his characteristic that he gave us, so that we can continue on our path unabated, undistracted. And that's the sole purpose of what's going on right now, is distractions. We know that. Everybody knows what's going on in the earth is meant for a distraction. To distract of Yahweh's people from doing what they're supposed to do. And that's the work for the Father. Yes, Jeff?
And the people that are out there are so distracted, stressed, anxiety, they're just overloaded with everything going on to where it's hard to even get to them people.
Yes, the distraction is, if your foot is on the path and you've actually started your work, there's a distraction, and you know, it's trying to keep you off the path. But imagine the people that haven't even stepped on the path. The distraction has them so overwhelmed that they can't even hear the word to even start doing it. And that's what it's designed for. And so, like I said, it's 2 parts. Scripture gives us both, and usually the answer is both. We are supposed to know and see what's going on because Yahshua has given us the prophecy. When you see these things, know the end is near, or my coming is near. But don't forget to be as gentle as doves, which means don't forget to do the will of the Father. Don't let the adversary distract you to the point to where you are constantly watching him and not watching yourself. Yes, sir.
I heard another translation for that is innocent as a dove.
Innocent as a dove, harmless as a dove,
Yeah, the
gentle as a
innocent
dove.
in regards to lawlessness. Be wise to the wise as serpents, but be innocent as a dove in Yah's eyes.
Right.
Innocent, blameless.
Blameless, yes. Yes, Chris.
Does anyone have James 1:26, or do you have that?
No, I do not. It's just James 1:12. You said James 1:26.
That's right.
I was originally just looking for the bridling of the tongue.
James 1, verse 26. I do have it highlighted. Just one verse? Okay.
Yeah.
James 1:26 says, if any man among you seem to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain.
Actually, read 27, that's good, yeah.
I just closed.
Oh, that's fine, yeah, that's it.
All right, so I wanted to circle back into the point. The point I'm making is, enduring to the end, yes, we must endure through temptation, but enduring to the end or holding fast until the end means we must also hold fast to our righteousness that Yahweh has given us through his law, through the ability to know him. Let's turn to Job 27, verse 3. Job 27, verse 3. Just a couple of verses here. Because I know Job has a lot of chapters. Job has a lot to say with his back and forth. Curtis read, a few verses in Job. 27, verse 3. Many times that I've read Job, this never resonated to me until I actually started to put together this study. But as Job's going back and forth with his friend, Job makes a statement in Job 27:3. He said, "All the while my breath is in me, and the spirit of Elohim is in my nostrils. My lips shall not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. Elohim forbid that I should justify you. Till I die, I will not remove my integrity from me. My righteousness I hold fast, and I will not let it go. My heart shall not reproach me so long as I live." Job recognized in his situation, in his state, number one, not knowing why he was going through what he was going through, but he had a commitment that he was going to hold fast to his righteousness, his ability to serve Yahweh. Because to sin is to break the law. Righteousness is to do the law. So regardless of what was going on, he wasn't going to let the adversary distract him from his righteousness all the time that he lived, until the end, so to speak. This is the resolve we should have in us, regardless of what's going on around us. Having the resolve to say, no matter what is thrown at me, no matter what I'm going through, no matter what's around, I will stand and hold fast to my righteousness.
I think one of the most important things I like about what Job did, he didn't isolate himself.
He had support. He had his
He had
friends around
support,
him.
and he had people that would always question his motivation for doing what he was doing. But the fact that he didn't isolate himself, because he knew who he was, and he trusted in Yahweh.
Yeah.
In everything he did.
And I would say his, not being isolated, his friends didn't have very good
words.
things to say.
Right, but
So
they couldn't,
in some cases you were like, okay, I don't want that negativity around me, man.
Exactly. But because he knew who he was.
Yeah, it would have been better if all four of them would have been more uplifting instead of the one that finally couldn't take no more and told them, hey, look, you guys are not right. Look to Yahweh. So going back, and I'll give you guys some examples of kind of how this plays out in real life. Let's turn to Revelations 3:3. Lost my door. Revelations 3:3. So while you guys turn there, I'll repeat what Job says. Till I die, I will not remove my integrity from me. My righteousness I hold fast. Because what does the adversary want to do? He wants to steal. He wants to take your righteousness. And some of us, we are so ingrained, so strengthened by Yahweh's word. We are so steadfast in Yahweh's will and his word. We are so adamant that I don't care what comes at us and what someone says, I am not going to be moved. Well, if the adversary can't come through the front door, how is he going to get in?
Back door.
He got to climb through a window. He got to bust open a screen door. He got to get in however he can. And so if he's sneaking in through a window and you have all of your guard on the front door, he has to come up with some other way to get you off your game. Let's go to Revelations 3:3, just one verse here. And this is Yeshua is talking to the church of Sardis. He tells them, remember therefore how thou hast received and heard. Remember what you have heard, what someone has told you about Yahweh. And what you have received and started to do. Remember that. And hold fast and repent. Hold fast to it, and when you mess up, repent of what you've done wrong. Yahweh, forgive me. I won't do it again, whatever that is. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. The adversary is trying to get us distracted so that when Yahweh comes, we are not watching. And I would not say watching what he's doing, watching what we do. Not, again, not saying we shouldn't do both, but we got to figure out how to do both. Yes, Jeff?
Noah. It says in the scriptures that seek him while he can be found. In the Psalms, it warns us about that don't seek him when it's bad, when time's short, because it takes time to get right with him.
Yes. Seek him when he can be found.
Seek him when he be found. Put some time into it. That's like a young man growing up, it's perfect, because that way he learns it his whole way. But if you're waiting till you're on the bed with cancer, or you're waiting for the day before the flood, so we're warned about that. Don't wait till the end. You need to be clean before that, sanctified, made pure, blameless. May we be found blameless, so we can stand before the Son of Man.
Our walk is a process. We put our foot on the path and we progress to be like Yeshua, which is the ultimate goal. And as we're doing so, yes, we might stumble, we might fall, but we should pick ourselves up, brush ourselves off, repent, and keep going. The adversary wants to knock you down, put his knee on your neck, and keep you down so that all you see is the ground and never get up. And what I'm saying is, if he gets you down and you can't think of what you need to do to get back up, he has won. Christy.
How are we to be gentle and when it comes to this and standing up for that, being steadfast? Proverbs 21:23.
Make sure I have got that one. Do I have that one? Proverbs 21:23. I have Proverbs, but I don't have that one.
Says
Pro-
whoever, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Just so everybody can hear it.
Okay, no, I can read it. Whoever guards his mouth and tongue guards his life from distresses.
And that was Proverbs
21:23.
Thank you.
Think about that and the guarding, like.
And
you
I'll
guard
reread it
Sabbath.
for everybody on the outreach. Whoever keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from trouble. So circling back, Yeshua tells the church of Sardis to hold fast to what they have received and heard, so they are not caught sleeping when he returns. Not only should we endure through temptations, afflictions, or persecutions, we should ensure our belief in Yahweh's word, ensure that our following of Messiah endures to the end. Having both, being wise as serpents, but gentle as doves when Yahshua returns. Gotta have both. Wise as serpents, so we're not fooled or manipulated by the adversary in doing something wrong to take us off the path. But as gentle as doves, so we are following Yahshua's example to be like him, so that we don't take ourselves off the path by doing something wrong. I equate this to, like I said, I can only speak for myself and how this, applies to my life. My wife tells me a lot that I watch too much TV. She's laughing. Watch a lot of TV. I mean, I used to run a film festival. I watch a lot of TV. But I also, when I get up here to do a study, I can spend an entire week trying to figure out what I want to talk about, reading scriptures to figure out what I want to share with you guys. I would say in my mind that's a happy balance. But the moment I think about it, I don't know if it is. Because I will tell you guys, the reason why I watch so much TV is because I get happy when I have enough discernment to see what's on the screen of how they're trying to manipulate people. It makes me feel good that I can see what's going on in the world and understand it and tell other people, hey, did you see that eye in the background? Or hey, did you see that pyramid that was on the shelf right there? I'm watching I'm not even looking at the show. I'm looking at everything in the background that they are putting in these shows as subliminal messages to people. Identifying. I get off on that. I will admit. So I watch a lot of TV because Yahweh, I want to use this superpower that Yahweh has given me. And then my wife tells me, why don't you pick up a book? Use that superpower. Yes, Jeff.
I broke mine and put it out near the garbage. I had a big one.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? I bought it for home shows for my business, so I bought a big TV for that. And then
Right.
I got to a point where I just knew that the enemy kept wasting time.
Mm-hmm. Distraction.
Yeah, so I mean, I watch YouTube and stuff like that, but it's scripture or else it's stuff to do with like living, like live on nature and different things like that.
And I want to be clear. I'm not telling anybody to go cold turkey on TV. I'm not. I'm just saying, in my life, I've identified something.
I'll
to
do
where-
that though for you.
Yeah, I've identified something to where, hold on, dude, that I see both of, I can understand when I'm watching something, when they're trying to sell me on evil, I can identify it immediately. And I like that fact that Yahweh is giving me that gift.
Discernment?
Discernment. Love it. I thank Yahweh for it. But am I also, as my wife said, am I picking up the book to learn the word, to solidify the word in my brain, in my subconscious, more so than I am being happy that I see and have this discernment of what's going on in the world? And that's something I gotta work on. Nobody can work out that out but me. Because I don't want, oh, let me go. James, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna tell you to read, go back to Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 30.
Proverbs chapter 21, verse 30. There is no wisdom nor understanding nor counsel against Yahweh. Thank you for that. So going back, I don't want at any time to where Psalms 119, 112, you guys turn there. Psalms 119, 112, we know this verse. I don't want this verse applying to me in any way. Well, matter of fact, I got the wrong verse. Never mind. I jumped ahead. Where did that verse go? Never mind. Stay at Psalms 119, 120. I haven't gotten to the points of what I don't want to apply to me. Psalms 119, 112, just one verse here. It says, I have inclined my heart to perform thy statutes always, even until the end. As I think about the things that I commit most of my time to, just like Jeff said, some of the things that we obviously should get out of our, everyday, life, the music that's being put out there, the TV shows that are out there, some of the things that they put in the video games, some of the things that they try to get you on this metaverse and all of that stuff. All of that is to capture this. And if I'm allowing them to capture it, I'm falling into the trap. But if I recognize that, hey, is it more important for me to just start and read scripture than doing this? I've actually stepped back away from the snare that the adversary is hoping to get those hardcore followers of Yahweh. Again, I want to state, this is a tactic for those hardcore followers of Yahweh. those ones that if he just presented something in front of you, there's no way that you would fall for it. It is the deceitful deception, the climbing in the window tactic that he is gonna use with a distraction. Yes, Jeff.
We're in the week of unleavened. Now, are those things that we are using in our house that are full of war, full of violence, full of wrath, full of things that don't line up with the Father's word, and he's totally against it? Are those things leaven that need to go? Because leaven is a symbol of what needs to be brought out of us that isn't his character. Now, do those things resemble his character? Would he be sitting there watching that stuff?
That is a great comparison. For those on outreach, just said during the week of unleavened, right now we're commanded to get the leavening out of our house. We're also commanded to get the leavening out of ourselves. And do we see this as something we should get out of ourselves so
Yeah.
that we can abide by this week?
I got a huge testimony. I met a guy on a job. He ended up being Jewish. I said, "You believe in Jesus?" So I started telling him, well, Jesus taught the law, all the stuff brought him in. He turned. Okay, so Yah got him. So now he's keeping Torah. Well, I learned through what I went through and cursed objects. He had a house full of movies and video games and all this stuff, and I told him, I says, all that stuff's against the Father.
Yeah.
And he before that, he could never sit down. He was always like ADHD, always running. I said, get rid of the stuff. Well, he didn't listen. The Father worked in his heart. He ended up getting rid of it. He told me, we took it up to him and confessed it and all that stuff. At least, or else he did it himself. I most likely did it secondary just to make sure.
Yeah.
And got rid of that stuff. After that, he could sit on his couch and at peace.
Yes.
Those who have the Torah of Yah have a great peace and they're not offended. So that's where that comes. You get rid of that stuff that has a legal right to you, and the spirits in that house will now leave you and you will have some peace. This is real. I mean,
Okay.
Walt Disney World stuff too. If you got that stuff in your house with fairies and all that other stuff, if you got that stuff on your children, yeah.
So, thank you for that, Jeff. Jeff makes a good point. A lot of this stuff we know about. And how do we know about this stuff? How do we know that it's bad? It's because either somebody's told us, we've researched it ourselves, we've seen it ourselves. If we know it's bad, should we continue the path of making that more of the priority than Yahweh's word? And that's what I'm trying to say is we can get into this whole trap by the adversary of trying to know more and more about the things that he's trying to do to deceive people. And I don't think we will ever be able to understand the amount of things that are out there. But he could get you down that trap to where you're trying to identify all of the things because you want to be the watchman and tell others, watch out for this, watch out for that. But have you gone away from the gentle as dove? Have you gone away from studying nonstop of the word and trying to be like Yeshua, the example, the other side of the two things that we should be doing? Yes,
His
Jeff.
word says he would prefer that you be wise to his law.
He prefers that you will be wise to
If
his
you
law.
focus on him, you won't sink into water.
Yes. With all that's going on today in the battle for good and evil, we know that it's still waging. We cannot lose focus of our foundation. I know that I mentioned a couple of studies ago, I can't remember that. I think that we should constantly rehash some of the things that we've talked about. Because we could get into the situation, I know I've done it, is, someone brings up a topic, I've studied that already, I think I know that by heart, I don't need to look at it again. But I'm a person of repetition. I learn through doing it over and over and over and over again, where I know it like back of my hand. So does it hurt if we start going over some stuff that we already know? Yes,
Well, from time to time it doesn't hurt, because you gotta remember, from time to time we have a whole brand new audience, both here and online.
this is true, we have a new
And they hadn't heard, there's a lot of people that hadn't heard this before.
Yeah.
Refining.
Refining it. Maybe doing the same study, but adding more to it. 'Cause
Refining
that's
all,
what-
yeah, put,
Everybody's
Just
going,
like,
went up.
just like, you know, just like, what's in the name? You know, just like when you know Yahshua's name.
Oh, I mean, it was such a
and
testimony.
You use other names. That's just like me coming to you and say, hey, Joey. And you say, no, my name ain't Joey.
So it was such a testimony. I don't know if it was a couple of weeks ago or last week, I can't remember. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. We had a new person come, and he was like, what is this Yahweh and Yahshua that you guys are saying? And everybody at the table like pounced to tell him their testimony of the names. And it felt so good because all of us said the same exact thing. And I was like, yes, that's what we're supposed to do. But shouldn't we have that knowledge about everything, especially not just Yahweh's word, but Yahshua's characteristics, the character of Yahweh, who we should emulate? I say yes. And that's why I say we gotta have both. Our foundation, Tino first, and then Jeff. I almost forgot you guys.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, when we talk about repetition, well, you're exactly right. I mean, Yahweh himself was repetitionally telling Israel, you know, through the prophets and everybody, you know, in repetition of what they need to be doing. He was stopping them and warning them doing those things. If you look at even the Deuteronomy itself is the repetition of the law. You know, it's again repeating those things.
Every year.
So, you know, we have to look at it in context. This is what it's about. We constantly have to hear it. We constantly have to go over it. So, because like you said earlier, there might be times when you read something like you said, you read in Job, you didn't consider.
No.
But, you know, that one thing you just discovered even in this study.
It's my level of understanding at the time that I read it. But who's to say my level of understanding doesn't improve when I read it at a later time?
Right.
And so I should keep reading to build not only that new level of understanding, but solidifying the foundation that I built along the way. And that's why I'm saying, you know, out of all this stuff that's going on, we cannot lose focus on our foundation, because the adversary is hoping we get so focused on the fights and the attacks that he has towards us that we forget and give up our righteousness. And I would say we forget and give up the following of the word. We forget and give up the works that we should be doing in Yahshua's name. Because it's easy to do, because again, my wife, throwing her in the bus today, she says I only have a one-track mind, and I agree every time she says that. When she asks me to do something and I'm doing it, and she asks me to do something else, I say, wait, let me finish this. I can't do more than one thing at one time. It's because I'm so focused on that one thing that I want to do it exactly right. I don't want to have to do it again. Have I ever used that same mentality when it's dealing with these two things? Me being as wise as a serpent, but as harmless as a dove. Do I get so focused on what I want to get this one thing right that I can't do the other? Balance. Yes, Jeff.
Well, first, watch speaking vows over yourself like that.
Yeah.
I can't. Because all things are possible to those who believe, and ask and you shall receive.
Yes,
So-
I'm giving examples.
Yeah, no, I know, no.
Yeah.
I used to go to work and I always thought, because I worked so hard, when I came home, I was just done. You know what I'm saying? Because of contracting, and I spoke that stuff against myself. I confessed that to the Father,
Right.
and I noticed when I got home, I wasn't sluggish, lazy, and laying around.
Right.
I confessed it, he removed it, I was running around getting so much stuff done, because I spoke a vow over myself.
Got it.
So it opens up doors to where you're just like drawn into that, so. But on the other end, where we were at with that, you read it one time, and you go over it again, and you see stuff, he shows you stuff, he rewards you.
Yep.
That you never seen before.
Oh, yeah. And that's a part of building up his spirit, strengthening his spirit that's in you. Let's turn to Psalms 119:26. Psalms 119:26. Prayer of David, and how he will treat Yahweh's statutes, judgments, and commandments. And I say that we just, my opinion, my understanding, how I look at it from my perspective is we just need to make sure that we have both, not one without the other. Because obviously we don't want to go through life just focus on Yahweh and Yeshua and be oblivious to what the adversary can and will try to do to us. That's the ultimate, that's the opposite of what, the contrast of what we're kind of talking about right now. We shouldn't be that. And that's why Yeshua says we should have both. Psalms 119:26 says, I have declared my ways, and thou heardest me. Teach me thy statutes. Make me to understand the way of thy precepts. So shall I talk of thy wondrous works. My soul melteth with heaviness. Strengthen thou me according to thy word. Remove from me the way of lying, and grant me thy law graciously. I have chosen the way of truth. Thy judgments I have laid before me. I have stuck unto thy testimony. O Yahweh, put me not to shame. I will run the way of thy commandments. When thou shalt enlarge my heart, teach me, O Yahweh, the way of thy statutes, and I will keep it unto the end. Give me understanding, and I shall keep thy law. Yea, I shall observe it with my whole heart. Yahweh teaches us his statutes, his judgments, his commandments, and we should be grateful and thankful that he has shown them to us and we have received them. And then from that point, it's our job to keep them until the end. Hence the name of this study, until the end. Regardless of what's going on, are we keeping both sides of the equation? Are we watching to know what's going on, and are we also keeping Yahweh's ways close to our heart and keeping the whole way? Even if we don't have an answer to this, we can ask ourselves, how often do we reflect on whether we are following the law based on how we started in the beginning? Because it goes back to what Raquel saying, the first love, we all know when we first stepped foot on this walk, when we first heard Yahweh Yeshua, when we first started doing the law, we tried to do it with all our might, making sure that everything we did was exactly as it was instructed. Have we got comfortable? Have we got to the point to where we were like, oh, I got this. I don't need to go through the refrigerator a second time to make sure that there's no unleavening. I got this. I've been doing this for a while now. I would tell you, we missed something this morning. As we always do. I've been doing this not for a long time, not as long as most of you, but I can think of a lot of times to where I missed something. I was sharing with Jeff the other day, I can count 3 years in a row that I missed something. Dennis talked about the donuts. I done that at work. Talked about, going out to eat and having a salad and it has croutons in it. Talked about, people bringing stuff in to work and you just take a bite before you even know it. I just had a hamburger. To the point to where I say, I'm not going to work this week. I got to figure out something, because obviously I ain't getting this.
You still do it at home.
Yeah, I still do it at home, and you forget, didn't go through that second pass in the refrigerator, and boom, something's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Throw it away.
It's nice though, when you look at something you didn't look at, and you look and it says that there's no leaven in it.
Right.
It is nice.
Yeah,
On the other
exactly.
end of it.
Like, I got it, finally, I can have this. But what I'm really saying is, it's almost like during this week, we're trying to make sure that we go in and we reflect to make sure we're doing it right. We have that passion to do that. We shouldn't let that passion go away. We shouldn't let that diligence go away. Let's go to Proverbs 14:12. And this is what I was going to say earlier, that I do not want this to happen to me. I don't want this verse applying to me in any way. Proverbs 14:12. Because we know what we're supposed to do. We know we're supposed to be doing the law. We know we're supposed to be setting the example or being like Joshua as the example. How often do we revisit to make sure that we haven't lost something along the way, that we haven't left something in the refrigerator accidentally? Proverbs 14:12 says, "There is a way which seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death." In the past, when I've read this, I'm like, okay, that's an evil person that don't know that they're evil. They think they're doing right, but they are not. I'm not like that person. But how devastating would it be when I stand before the master? I think I've done right, and he tells me I left something in the refrigerator. How crushing would that be? He tells me I didn't have both sides of the equation. Yes, Jeff?
You lazy and wicked servant, you did not reap where I did not sow.
Talents, yes.
Yeah, but in general, you didn't go out and work.
Mhm.
You didn't
Didn't do
go
the
work the field.
Didn't do the work. So I have a new perspective on this verse. And again, I can only talk about myself. I don't even want this to be applied to me, even though I am on the path and I think that everything I'm doing is correct. But this verse is actually said to me that I think that I am the right, but the end thereof is death. The example that I found on this is Proverbs 25:6. Let's turn to Proverbs 25:6. Proverbs 25:6. Proverbs 25:6 is the example that Solomon gives of the king and the prince and how people come before them. Proverbs 25:6. "Put not forth thyself in the presence of the king, and stand not in the place of great men. For better it is that it be said unto thee, Come up hither, than that thou should be put lower in the presence of the prince whom thy eyes have seen." I translate that, my understanding is, if we get to the point to where we're overconfident in our walk, that there's nothing for us to do, that we got it, I don't need to check the refrigerator anymore, I got this. Can that be equated to us putting ourselves before the king as a great man, when in actuality, we should come towards the king not expecting anything, not expecting a position, not expecting to be doing this right, but saying that I am constantly trying to live it up. Yes,
This is also repeated in Luke 14:8.
I got it. I knew you were gonna have
You
that.
got
I
this.
got it. I got it next. When I was reading, I was like, this sounds familiar. So I'll go to Luke 14:8 next. And I'll finish up. Proverbs 25:8 says, "Go not forth hastily to strive, lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof, when thy neighbor hath put thee to shame." We should not be looking to strive against the adversary first, lest when we're done striving against him, he's standing in the corner laughing because he have distracted us to the point to where we were not being as gentle as doves. We were not concentrating focus on Yah's law. We wasn't trying to be like Yeshua because he distracted us all the time. So in the end, the person standing next to us is told to come up hither. And we're looking around like, I've been fighting a good fight for I don't know how many years. And then Yeshua says, just like Raquel mentioned in Revelation 2:5, he says, don't leave your first love. As a matter of fact, let's turn there. I didn't put it in my notes. I wrote it down. When she gave it to me, Revelations 2, verse 5. He's talking to
Start with 2:2, yeah. Ephesus.
Revelations 2:2.
Yeah, start with that one too.
Revelations 2, verse 2. And he's talking to Ephesus, the church at Ephesus. And I'll start in 1. Unto the angel of the symbol of Ephesus, write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. I know thy works, and thy labor, and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil. I mean, that's pretty good resume right there.
Mm-hmm.
And thou hast tried them which say they are apostles, and are not, and have found them liars, and has borne and has patience, and for my name's sakes has labored and has not fainted. Nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love. That entire resume steals something against you. Steals something that will prevent you from being elevated to the high room. Not saying, I am not the judge, Yeshua is the judge. Not saying that you will not be in front of the master or with the master. I'm saying that Yeshua says that he still has something against us, even though we do all we can. We are that steadfast, loyal servant. But if we forget our first love, our being humble as a dove, our having his characteristic and making sure we do everything we can to hold up the law and keep our righteousness, as Job says, until the end, we don't want Yeshua having something against us. And our neighbor, the person standing next to us, puts us to shame. The adversary, his last trick for the steadfast, followers of Yahweh, those that are strong in their faith, his only thing is distraction. Distraction from the word, distraction from Yeshua, distraction from the simplicity that is in Messiah. And that's what he uses. He uses the fact that we get to the point to where we understand and know that following the word, doing Yeshua's will and his commandments, it becomes simple to us because we're doing it. We got this. The moment we think that it's simple where we don't have to review it anymore is where he slides in and says, hey, well, if you got that, let me show you this. You don't have to think about that no more. You got that. Let me show you this. And as Dennis told us, let's turn to Luke 14:8. Yeshua gives us the answer. Yes, Tina.
Oh, I just want to give a little analogy about that, something I considered just what you were saying. Like if you ever seen a car with a bad wheel alignment,
Yes.
Yes.
driving behind a car and it's driving like this.
Yeah, it's sideways and shaking.
Exactly. The person driving, they might not know that. They're driving thinking everything is good.
They're straight.
They're straight. But on the hindsight, you're looking like, no.
You
your
ain't
car
straight,
is just
man.
as crooked as all I get out.
Yeah. You got the front end right, but the back end, not so much.
Right.
It's both sides.
It's only when you break it do they notice when it jerks, and that's,
It starts to go sideways, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good analogy of the two parts. You got the front and the back. Your wheels have to be aligned. You have to have the appropriate front side of this and the appropriate back side in order for you to be considered a good and faithful servant, in my opinion. Luke 14:8. When thou art bidden, and this is Yeshua actually giving the same parable example that we just read in Proverbs 25. When thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. And he that bade thee, and him come and say to thee, give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest room. But when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. For whosoever exalts himself shall be abased, and he that humble himself shall be exalted.
Hallelujah.
The answer that Yeshua is giving to that same parable is, how can Yahweh exalt someone that has already exalted himself?
Hallelujah.
When we get overconfident in our walk that I got this, Yahweh is going to immediately show us that we don't. When I got overconfident that I got all the leavening out of the house, that I didn't need to do another pass before I'm talking about this because this impacted me. I'll remember this for years to come.
It had a kosher sign too.
Yeah, it had a kosher sign on the bag. And so I just picked it up, saw the kosher sign, and put it up. And so I'm going through this thing fast. And then when, before sundown, I was like, should I do another pass? Nah, I got this. And boom. The moment I was overconfident in my walk, Yahweh immediately, thank Yahweh that he brought it to my attention for me to act. You had to start all over. And so that's what I'm saying is we have to keep ourselves humble. We have to keep ourselves thinking in our mind, I don't quite have this. I have more to work on. And then I have more to work on till the end. The end of my life until Yeshua's return. 1 Peter 5:6 says, you don't have to turn there. Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of Yahweh, that he may exalt you in due time. Not so you may exalt yourself through your actions. So he may exalt you.
He may exalt you.
Because our brain can't compare to his. And so we think, or I think we are smart, or I think I'm kind of a smart person, but you let me know that somebody that can keep all of this in their brain, call it whenever they need it, in the exact way that it should be spoken, I will say that that person is a computer.
The only thing that can is the Holy Spirit.
That's it. The Holy
Set apart
brings it
spirit
Set
brings it
apart
to our
spirit,
remembrance.
And we cannot do this
It's
alone.
not, we cannot do it alone. And how do you get the set apart spirit?
Obedience.
Obedience and
Laying on of hands.
You got to, yeah.
Laying on of hands,
Well, it also says he
obedience.
gives his spirit to those who are obedient.
And as we mentioned earlier, Tino mentioned earlier, it's the progression of building our character be like Yahshua. And we get more of the Spirit the more we do his will. And what part of that, of the two things that we're talking about? Humble as a dove. I tied it back. Whew. Tied it back. Let's go to Hebrews 3 verse 12. Hebrews 3 verse 12. I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna get through this. Hebrews 3 verse 12. Did you guys get there? So one of the comments I made here, if we think there is no need for us to continue to re-examine ourselves to ensure we are blameless, we have left one of the windows open for the serpent to creep in. We have to make sure that we go throughout our house and close all the windows so he has no way of getting in, no way of influence, nothing to latch on to try to manipulate us. Hebrews 3:12 says, "Take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living Elohim. But exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. For we are made partakers of Messiah, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast until the end." And I'll repeat that, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast until the end, that makes us partakers of Messiah. And our confidence is in him. We cannot leave our first love. We cannot put off the old man and not ensure the new man doesn't lose his way. Hebrews 6 verse 10. Hebrews 6 verse 10. Hebrews 6:10 says, "For Elohim is not unrighteous to forget your works and labor of love, which ye have showed towards his name, and that ye have ministered to the saints and do minister. And we desire that every one of you do show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope until the end, that ye be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherit the promise." The diligence and full assurance of hope until the end. Let's turn to 1 Peter 1, verse 3. I know I'm going kind of fast, but 1 Peter's 1, 2, 3. We must stay diligent until the end, as we were in the beginning. Again, like I said, I know myself, first started to walk, first got on the path, making sure I dotted every I, crossed every T. Checked it twice. Don't want to get comfortable. 1 Peter 1, verse 3. "Blessed be the Elohim and the Father of our Master Yahshua Messiah, which according to his abundant mercy hath begotten us again unto a lively hope by the resurrection of Yahshua Messiah from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you, who are kept by the power of Elohim through faith unto salvation, ready to be revealed in the last time, wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations." And I think all of us can agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
We are heavy in all of that's going on, the temptations, the afflictions, the persecutions that are happening. That the trial of your faith, or the trial of your belief, being much more precious than gold that perishes, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearance of Yahshua Messiah. Don't let our trial of our belief or our trials of our faith allow us to waver or allow us to forget or take us in any way out of remembrance of what we should be doing. Though the temptations and the persecutions and afflictions may get greater and greater, we still have to remember our belief. Yes, Jim?
And I want to give honor to Yah, because I have fallen many times, and I thought it was over.
But you got back up.
Oh, I didn't get up. He got me.
He got you back up.
Because it wasn't me, it was his spirit, because the enemy was on me, making me do things that I should not be, thoughts, feelings, speaking, And then boom, you wake up, and as soon as you do that, you're confessing what just happened, when he woke you up in the middle of the night, that you're murmuring and whatever, you know, and then it just, he gets it all out of you.
Yeah.
He does it.
All you have to do is
He's
ask
on
in
top,
Yahshua's
he's on
name.
top of it.
Once you,
No
anything
flesh
you
will
ask in
glory in
Yahshua's
his
name.
presence. He did it all by his spirit alone.
Yeah, anything you ask in Yahshua's name, he will do. Let's continue on, verse 8. Whom having not seen ye love, in whom though now ye see him not, yet believe, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even to the salvation of your soul. Not only should we endure through temptation, afflictions, persecutions, or anything the adversary is trying to throw at us, to throw us off our game, the wiles that he has, the tricks that he has in his bag of tricks, we should also ensure our belief in the word and our belief in Yahshua as our example, as our master, that we should stick close to those two things so that we can endure to the end. And I'll close with Revelations 2, verse 25. Revelations 2:25. Yeshua's talking to Thyatira, the church Thyatira. Revelations 2:25. Ensuring that we are wise as doves,
Wise as
as wise as serpents.
Harmless as
And as
doves.
harmless as doves. Mix those up. Revelations 2:25 says, but that which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcome and keepeth my works until the end, to him will I give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and the vessels of the potter shall they be broken to shivers. Even as I receive of my Father, and I will give him the morning star. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit say unto the churches. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Can you read this one? That's 1 Peter 4, 7 and 8.
1 Peter 4, 7 and 8. Johnny has 1 Peter 4, 7 and 8. 1 Peter 4, verses 7 and 8. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. Thank you, Johnny. It's both of them.
And charity is love.
Yes. Being sober and watching, meaning as wise as a serpent, but having fervent charity and love among yourselves and towards Yahweh.
Yes.
Harmless as a dove. Thank you, Johnny. That's perfect. Yes.
I used to use this when I first got into it too. If you have a character where you're keeping focused on that, where you're just being kind and loving to everybody, you can't have bitterness, resentment, rejection, hatred, anger, retaliation. None of that stuff can get up there.
None of it
You're
can get
looking
creep
to-
in.
Yep, if you're looking at love all the time.
Yep, that is true. All right. Your doors are shut, your windows are shut. Can't get
Ain't
in.
no way to get in.
Yes, Tito.
Well, I was just gonna add one more, if you had time for one more verse. that
Sure.
I thought was fitting. It's Philippians 3, really it's 14, but 3:12 starts there with Paul's writing.
Philippians 3, verse 12, down to 14.
14, yeah.
Philippians 3:12. Not as though I had already attained either were already perfect, but I follow after, if that I may apprehend that for which also I am apprehended of Messiah Yeshua. Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I press towards the mark for the prize of the high calling of Yahweh and Yahshua Messiah. Yes, that's striving for the mark. Don't look backwards. Let's keep looking forward. Thank you, Tino. Yes.
Just one last thing. You know, I always kind of find it odd that, you know, they would use the word serpent, because it's always referred to the adversary, the devil. I mean, the difference is the serpent, the devil, the dragon, they're harmful.
Yes.
You
And
know.
the serpent in Genesis was the one that beguiled Eve.
Right, right.
And
I mean,
wanna
they're
get in
wise
that
but
conversation,
harmful.
which his punishment was to crawl on his belly. Now, we interpret the serpent having the adversary in him did what he did,
Right.
but the subtleness, the beguiling, the manipulative, you know, aspect and characteristics of the serpent,
Yep.
we should watch out for that. But that's just one of the aspects. All right, any questions? Any other questions? No? All right, we'll see you guys next week at 1 o'clock. Oh, no, Thursday.
Thursday, 2
Thursday.
p.m.
See, Thursday,
High Sabbath,
last day of
2.
Unleavened at 2 p.m. with
Bob.
Bob Whitmer for the sermon.